Hi everyone, it's Hannah. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to implement Firebase Crud operation in React application. We will be building a simple to-do list app. Before we dive into this topic, let's talk about some reasons why we might want to use Firebase. First of all, Firebase uses Google's platform, so it is popular and widely used. Second, connecting to database using Firebase is fairly easy. We don't have to set up Express, Postgres, SQL, SQLize, any of those, so it does save time. Third, Firebase allows engineers to keep eye on their project. Engineers can update the data in real time. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hold up guys, this is how our outcome is gonna look like, by the way. Alright, let's dive in for real. In this short tutorial, I will not be going over how to set up Firebase. After creating a project on Firebase, I created firebase.js file in util folder inside src folder. I also cleaned up some files that we will not be using for this application from our React app. Util firebase.js, here we go. And here is how firebase.js looks like. You should be using your own credentials. I will be deleting the Firebase project after I'm done filming. This is where your credentials should go. Okay, to begin our to-do list app, let's create components folder inside src folder. First thing we're gonna do is let's create title.js file. In this file, we're just gonna create React functional component. And we're just gonna type our title. I have created CSS file in advance. Here is how it looks like. Now let's import this in app.js. And then now let's check how it looks like on our browser. So right now there's nothing, just a title, Todos List. Next thing we're gonna be doing is let's create a file called forms. Here we're going to create a form for submitting our to-do, which will be this right here you're seeing. Instead of div, let's create form here. And we're gonna create input and also a button. Okay, so inside the form, we're gonna put on submit. And our input is going to be to handle task name, we're going to be using React hook. Oops, I've been putting those functions in the wrong place. Let me bring that down here. Okay, so now let's work on our functions. Handle change, which is part of our input. So what it's going to be doing is, let's do an event E. On change, we're gonna set the task name. So let's do set task name, E target value. This will set our task name to be whatever the input we're typing. Now let's work on create to do function. So on submission of this form, we're going to be sending our data to Firebase, which means we need to import Firebase. So all we need to do here is import Firebase, and then on our create to do, we're gonna get event. Let's do const to do ref Firebase dot database dot ref, and we're gonna be creating reference called to do in our Firebase. And then what we're going to be doing is const to do will be our task name, and let's do completed false. So that would be our data of individual to-do. We're gonna push our task name, and then default value of completion status would be false. How are we going to send this to our Firebase? This is how. And every time we add our task, we don't want it to refresh. So what we could do is prevent default. There we go, so that it doesn't refresh every single time. We need to import this at our app.js, so let's do it. In order to use Firebase, let's install Firebase. So this is what we have so far. And let's create a list of to-dos. Let's say, let's do study, and you add. We won't be seeing anything here yet, but if we go to our Firebase, on our database, we should be able to see our to-do ref, and inside we do have our study, and our completion status is false. So yeah, now we're able to post to our Firebase. And let's say we're gonna add one more. Let's say we want to add to sleep, and add it. Or let's say eat. And there we go, we have 3 to-do lists. Next thing we're gonna create is on our component, we're gonna be creating to-do list.js. In to-do list.js, we're going to be looping through our to-do list on our Firebase so that we could have them presented on our front-end web browser. So here we want to try to read data from our Firebase. So what we're going to be doing is, let's set up a state using React hook. Here, let's do the same thing as what we did in forms. Let's do const to do ref to connect to our Firebase database. So firebase.database. And to read the data from our database, what we're going to be doing is, on our to-do ref, we're going to do on value and snapshot. And then let's name const to-dos to be our snapshots value. So now our to-dos looks like how we saw in our Firebase. It looks just like that. Basically, this is how our to-dos kind of look like, and this is not what we want. So to make it easier to use as we're coding, we're going to set state, which we already created on line 5. So what we're going to be doing is, actually, this should be to-dos. So let me change that to to-dos. And also down here, I'm going to lay out our to-dos. So let's do to-do list. Since we are setting the to-do list up using React hook, if the to-do list is true, then do to-do list dot map have to do here. And also let's import to do before we even create. To do from. Now on our components, we're going to create todo.js. So in this todo.js file, we're gonna set up our Firebase delete function and edit functions. So we want to import Firebase. Also, we're gonna be using React hooks, use state. So let me import that, use state. We have access to our to-do. So now, instead of putting it like that, to-do.task name, we're gonna make it prettier, better. Let's use a list tag and also a input so that we could edit the individual to-dos. And right below our input, first to check if it's completed, so let's do button. Actually, we're gonna already give a class name. Let's do button complete task button. And on click of this, we're gonna call a function complete to do. Okay, let's see how it looks right now. So that's how it looks. So we're gonna be listing our to-do on each input. Also make it possible for us to edit it. That's why we're using input. For the icons for completing to-do, editing, and deleting, we're gonna import something. You guys could copy this. If you go to public and HTML, index.html, we're just gonna paste this link. We're pasting that link so that we could use the icon that I'm about to use. Let's go to do. I'm gonna be importing an icon, so and that looks like this. Much better, right? So let's say if we get rid of this link, it won't work anymore. So yeah. And let's set up the rest of the buttons. So our next button would be, here we go. We're gonna have a class name, which is already set in our CSS file. That's not how it's supposed to look like. What did I do? It should be delete. Okay, there we go. Right now, these buttons don't do anything. So let's write our functions. We're using Firebase, so just like how we've been calling Firebase database, we're gonna do the same thing. Const to do ref will be firebase.database.ref over to do ref, and then .child. This is how we access our individual to-do. Since we are completing the to-do, what we're gonna be doing is updating, so to-do. Okay, so let's test it out. Oh, it looks like we never put the value of our task. Let's actually do that. We forgot about editing that input tag. I am going to have on change function because when we're editing the task, we want to be able to change the name of the task as we're editing. So we will be also handling with on change function. You may have noticed the style of the listed to-dos are different. I changed the class names in app.js, which I forgot to do earlier. And let's see if we click to check to complete, see if the status is changing. So right now, everything is false, but if I click complete, 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 we could see everything is now true. When we click to complete, it doesn't really show anything on our user interface. So let's add some styling, which is actually already in our CSS file. I just forgot to add that class name onto our list. So if our completion status is true, then we want to have a line going through that task, right? If it's not completed, we don't want any lines. So what we could do is, since our CSS file is already set up, we're gonna do if the todo.complete is completed, then we're gonna use a style class name called complete. But if it's not completed, then we're just gonna use the list item style class name. So yep, since everything is true, completed, we see those lines, but when we click it, it turns back to false. Okay, so now let's handle our edit to do. We're gonna update it to, let's say, new task name, which we don't have this yet. So we're going to be handling new task with use date up here. And this change happens with our handle change. So as we retype our new task to edit, takes event as a parameter, and what we're going to be doing here is if the todo.task name is empty, which means we're getting rid of what we already have, then we're going to set new task name with e.target value, so new value. So let's go and see it. Okay, now instead of study, let's say I want to do go out. Oops, am I not typing? Oh, okay, here in value we actually need to set not to do task name, because then it won't let me change. There we go, now it should reflect. So here, let's say if I do go out, I need to click on that edit button, otherwise it won't fire the edit to do function. So let's click on that, and then let's check our database. Yep, go out. It's not study anymore, it's go out. What if we complete the task? Should we still be able to change the name? Maybe that's not what we want. So what we could do here is if todo.complete status is true, if it's already completed, maybe we'll set our new task name to be todo.task name. Otherwise, we are going to be resetting the state. Alright, so now let's try complete to go out. It won't let us type anything anymore. And now lastly, let's do our delete to do function. All we have to do is to do ref dot remove, and that's it. This will take care of our delete function. Delete, 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 and they're all gone. This is it. It looks like I forgot to give style to my to-do list title, so let me actually check that. think that's it. Let's see, we're gonna add sleep, eat, go out, or we could edit to study. We could choose to complete it or delete. And that's all there is to build a simple to-do list app using Firebase CRUD operation. Thank you for watching!